Hello, welcome to Soulprint Intuitive Tarot. This is another mini. So, on Tuesday, there was a lot of sort of talk about how Trump fell asleep um, during the convention. So, Vance is sitting beside him with his eyes wide open, and Trump's sitting there like this. Um, so I thought that maybe it would be a good idea to just zip in and check out Trump's energy and see how he is doing. So, before I get there, I strongly encourage you guys to check out Resistance Live. So, in order to find it, all you have to do is find the looking glass on YouTube, click on it, type in the words Resistance Live, and it'll pop up. But I want you to check it out because she's really putting out some very good information. I was watching her this morning, and one of the things that she was talking about is what happens when you vote third party, and how votes are counted and that kind of thing. So she's a really good source for just clarity, just understanding why things work the way they do and what the implications of certain things are. So please consider that if you haven't already. Alrighty, so we're now day 2 of the convention, and we now know that J.D. Vance is his vice president pick. So we know that came straight from Project 2025, right? Because one of you amazing people made a comment on the video you saw yesterday, titled, VP Vance, and it said that in many ways Vance is even more dangerous than Trump because Vance, at least to some degree, is smarter than Trump. I don't know that he's brilliant, but and he very much is a puppet, right? I mean, he sold his soul to get on the Trump train, and it paid off. He's the vice president or a vice presidential pick. Now, again, we don't need to really get upset about that or worried about that, because in order for him to get into the White House, Trump has to get into the White House, and that's not going to happen. But he is probably one of the most ill-qualified people. I'm talking about Vance. Never mind Trump. We've already established he's ill-qualified. He has no experience. I mean, he's only had a political career for 2 years. He got voted in apparently in the last midterm, 2 years, year and a half, however long that's been. And this is the guy that they're saying, no, he's the one who can step in if something happens to Trump. Are you kidding me? That's how you know that the decision on vice president pick probably had something to do with money. And there's some really big donors who are supporting Vance. And honestly, I think that Trump looked at which pick was going to bring him the biggest amount of money from the biggest money contributors. And that's how he got picked. So let's pop into Trump's energy and see how he is doing post-assassination attempt. He did show up at the convention yesterday with a big bandage on his right ear. And when I first heard about him kind of doing the sleeping thing, I was wondering actually if he might be on some sort of painkiller that just, they can make you quite kind of dopey, and it becomes hard to stay awake. But let's just zip in and see what we see, okay? So here we go. Show me Trump's energy, please. Okay. He is experiencing some pain in that ear. I'm not getting damaged as much as I'm getting, the thing has been cleaned out. I'm not even seeing any stitches. I could be wrong, but it really does look like it was sort of grazed whatever it was that went by him, whether it was shrapnel or a bullet or whatever it was. However, um, so this is kind of the thing, right? He's a real baby when it comes to pain. Right? And so he's not coping with it very well. He's not handling the pain very, very well. Um, and so that's kind of part of what's going on. I would not be at all surprised if they have him on some sort of it's sort of a low grade painkiller. And that may be contributing a little bit to the sleepiness, but more than that, it feels like just overall, his energy is very low. Kind of like you can just see how I've slowed right down, right? It's very, very sluggish. And that's interesting because in the environment he's in at the RNT convention, he should be like revving, right? Because all the focuses on him and how amazing he is, and he got the nomination, and everything is wonderful. He should be like up here, but for whatever reason, he's like way down here and really, really just slow. I don't know if anybody's actually heard him talking lately, or if I know there is a speech that he'll do, I think, later today, maybe. But I don't know if we've heard him before then, but there's definitely this sort of slowing down energy around him. I have to tell you, it feels like in some ways his body almost went into sort of like a state of shock. And I can't exactly say that he seems to have come out of it. All right. Now, I am not going to minimize or belittle what he experienced. All right. Because I think for somebody like him to even have that close or that far, depending on how you look at it, brush with that kind of energy, whether he thinks it could have killed him or just, really messed him up, he's not actually able to process that and sort of handle it. Okay. And to be fair, I don't know how many of us would be able to handle it either. So we're not going to pick on him for that. I'm more concerned though about the fact that there's this very sort of low vibrational energy. And what is so interesting is underneath that is like panic, and frankly, anger. And he really wants everybody to stop talking about the fact that Crooks is a registered Republican and he voted in the last midterms. Trump wants that shut down. All right. Because it makes it look like one of his supporters just sort of went off the rails a little bit. And at this point, to the best of my knowledge, nobody understands why he did what he did. Okay. And honestly, I have not gone into his energy to see if I can determine it. I might do that, but right now I'm not going to. This really, really shook him up. And it's such an interesting, and especially for him, because it is just very disorientated and unfocused. And underneath that is this anger and this sort of rage. And that is, honestly, that is being eclipsed by flat fear. All right. So where he's at right now is he recognizes that the convention is really, really important. He recognizes that it's his sort of time to appear strong and vital and like nothing, he can take a bullet and nothing's going to knock him down. but internally, there's a lot of turmoil going on. We know that Trump tends to have a fuse that's about, this long, right? I mean, it just doesn't have it. It's just so short. Um, and it feels like sort of behind the scenes, there's a lot of sort of raging going on. Um, and he's just, he's honestly, he's angry that somebody had the nerve to try to shoot him, but he's even more angry that for those couple of minutes he looked weak, right? Now, that does not mean that he is not going to absolutely um, play up the fact that he's a victim. And that's part of the reason he wants people to shut up about the fact that this kid was a registered Republican, because it makes it a little bit harder to, play the victim, right? Um, that initial flurry of, oh, this is the left wing and they're crazy. That doesn't fly, because every single newscast has made it very clear that this guy was a Republican. So he's having sort of a little bit of trouble, sort of almost like reconciling it in his head. Um, you know what? I have to tell you that based on what I'm seeing right now, he is going to recover physically far more quickly than he recovers emotionally or psychologically. And that very, very much um, will have the potential to really impair um, him as he continues to move forward through the campaign cycle, right? Yeah, there's just it's a slow and it's fuzzy. I'm sorry, I keep repeating the same thing, but it's so unusual for his energy, right? Because normally when you go into his energy, he's raging and it's red and it's like this, and this is just like whatever, right? Um, and it's like he's having trouble focusing. Um, I don't know off the top of my head what some of the more um, common responses are to like a shock like that, but um, he definitely seems to be still experiencing those effects. So now, there is a part of Trump, as we know, that prides himself on being this amazing reality television star and this amazing marketing, tycoon. Apparently, it took about an hour or a couple of hours, whatever it was, um, from the time that bullet was sort of sent for the T-shirts to be up for sale. So they took a picture of, the fight thing. I think that was where it came from. And that has now been put on T-shirts and they're selling them. Make no mistake, as shocked as he was and as sort of shaken up as he was, there was a part of his brain that was very, very clear about the message he wanted to send out, the look he wanted to project. Come on, this is the guy who stood in front of a mirror and practiced the look for his oh crap, what's that called? The picture that they took of him when they booked him. Again, so you can bet, even in those moments when he was sort of down on the floor and everybody was covering him, he was literally trying to figure out, how do I make this work for me? How do I turn this into a moneymaker? Because that's his almost go-to response. So, um, that's kind of where he's at. Okay, so can you jump ahead? Let's take a look at him a week from now, 2 weeks from now. Let's just take a look at how this unfolds going forward, because right now he's like mashed potatoes. Like there's kind of no form to him. So, one of the things that we can expect in the next few days, sort of post the convention, as he kind of starts getting back into, the kind of campaign trail and that kind of thing, you're going to notice there are going to be gaps of time where he's doing nothing. And it's going to become even more noticeable because Biden's going to be doing so much. But when he is on stage, what you're going to see is a combination of um, barely suppressed anger and rage and complete disassociative communications. Very, very scattered thinking, which is kind of a scary thought considering how scattered he already is, to think that that's going to become amplified. I mean, it's kind of a little frightening. But in any case, that's where he's going to be at going forward. And you can bet that he's going to try to figure out how to end up blaming this on Biden or the Biden administration, or, the Justice Department. There was some talk over the last couple of days about the fact that the Secret Service has so many protectees, something like 400 of them, and they simply don't have the manpower to handle the job sort of almost to the level and the degree that it should be. I would not be surprised if there's like a massive recruitment thing going out for Secret Service agents, because not only are they kind of short staffed, but the people that are working are exhausted because they've been working a lot of hours and that kind of thing. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if somewhere down the road he kind of gets this thing in his head and he starts yelling and screaming about, this would never happen under his administration, even though he's the one that decimated all kinds of stuff and slashed budgets. As I'm looking at sort of him moving forward, kind of that, literally that time frame from July 10th, 11th through, almost want to say the end of the middle to the end of August, there are going to continue to be these sort of upheavals and these kind of shocking things that are happening. And I think what we're going to see overall is a real, almost like a diminishing of his capabilities, of his ability to function. And don't be at all surprised if there are more pictures of Trump appearing to be asleep. Understand, this is the guy who wants to return to one of the most powerful offices in the world, and he can't stay awake at his own convention. That's a little concerning. Alrighty. That's what I know from me. Honestly, I feel slow, sluggish. I honestly think I need to, go get some caffeine in me, because I'm just really droopy after spending some time in that energy. All right, let's shut that down and let's Cyndy get her own energy back, please. Okay, so what I know is that I will look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Don't forget to include your questions for Pendulum Friday. And I will look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Until then, take really good care and stay well. Bye bye for now.